wanted to say a few things about my life of making boards. Right out of high school in 1974. And my brother, John Mel, had been living in Santa Cruz for 5 years. He started Freeline Design in 1969. He invited me up to learn how to make some boards and work for him. So in '74, I moved to Santa Cruz, started riding the point breaks up there, and shaped my first board. And Mark Richards was the king of the twin fin, and he was kind of my idol, so I copied one of his boards and did everything, shaped it, glassed it, hot coated it, sanded it, and went out and rode it, and it worked pretty good. I got a chance in 1990 to take over Sailboards Maui, and so I jumped on that. During the 90s, we had a lot of good years. Francisco Goya, Sean Ordonez, Sierra Emery, Brian Talma were some of our team riders. We developed boards at a professional level to be ridden all around the world. And then the wing foiling thing showed up. So I started making boards right out of the gate. That's my specialty, making custom boards for people. So we take, your height, your weight, we get the volume of the board that's going to suit you for your level of ability and what you want to do with that board. People get excited about having a custom-made board in the color that they choose. You go down to the beach and probably 90% of the boards are production boards, and they tend to be one color. It's a very comfortable ride. I got a concave deck on these things. Gives you a lot of control over the board too. You're kind of sunken into your board. We've got a nice soft deck edge, so you're climbing up on your knees to get started on these things, and that makes it super comfy. So we got a chine rail, which reduces the width of the whole board. This one's 31 inches wide. So I'm reducing it by a couple inches on each side. That brings it down to 27 inches. So when you're in the water and you're not going yet, you got your water line here, 31 inches. As you start to pick up a little speed, boom, it bounces down 4 inches to 27 inches, and you have less wetted area. Now the board's more free to get started and get up on foil. You got a little flange here in the back. Your mast sits right in front of that thing. And so water shoots off of here. As soon as you're gaining a little bit of speed, you're pumping off of this corner, and so your board that's 6'5", now it's like a 5'8" or something, right? It's reduced by this much. Now you're on a pretty tiny board, but you got some hidden volume in there. And so this has been really a nice feature for our boards. And also when you're pumping, water shoots off of here. So you're on foil, you come down off of foil, your board touches down, water shoots off of that point, you give it one pump and you're back foiling again. So this has been a really nice feature. I've been putting it on most of the boards for Maui, where it's pretty windy. I know some of the freshwater spots, guys are having flat tails, just so. It's not so much a pumping environment. In a lake or something like that, I think you want just a board that hauls ass that's just gonna get up on foil as best you can. We're in some rough water here in high winds. You need a bit of rocker and you need to be able to pump your board, and that's been really helpful. So we got our flat. We're flat for 25 inches. Then the board's breaking with a step bottom, 2 1/4, 2 1/2 inches to the actual tail block. So that's a pretty big transition right there. We're trying to eliminate this part of the board when you're up at speed moving along. And so to even further eliminate this piece we've added a bunch of V to that panel behind the step bottom. And what this does is it gives this rail line a lot more of an angle. So where there's that angle there, it's increased at the rail line from all this V. It's disappearing even further. And so we're really trying to get this panel of the board to not be engaged in the water. We want water coming off of here, and this is like it's not even here. It's useful to get you going, but once you have some speed, this panel is like not involved in the water anymore. The entry of these boards it goes from a concave into a double concave, into a flat. It's flat back here where the mast is going to sit. The reason being, your mast needs to be perpendicular to your board, right? If it's cocked back, you're going to be pushing water. If you go forward, you're going to be lifting too much. So perpendicular is where, when you're standing there with your back foot right on the mast or in front of it, everything's lined up right and you've got a nice horizontal full speed move. That's why it's flat here and flat here. But the concave gives you some lift. A concave with a double concave, a little spine in the middle of it, like you see right there. It gives you some direction too. Concaves create lift, but a really wide board might have too much lift if it had a single concave in there. So we split it into a double concave with a little spine in the middle. And so it keeps your board giving you some direction rather than just lift and putting you back there. When you touch down, it's a little bit of a softer touchdown too, with a little bit of V under your front foot. This is a styrofoam core of a blank. It's 1 pound styrofoam, so it's really light. I mean, this thing at 130 liters, it's probably 4 pounds or something like that, 5 pounds. It's probably going to be 12 pounds out the door, all done. And here's why. 1 pound styrofoam. It's got some 4-ounce S-glass as a seam to glue down some Corcel or Divinycell material, which it's a high density foam, all the way wrapping around the thing. So we're gonna put 4-ounce S-glass and 1/8 inch Corcel, top and bottom, wrapping this whole thing. And so where we've gone from 4 pounds, now it's gonna be like 7 pounds, but it's gonna be pretty tough. This stuff is super gnarly hard. Like this foam, you could sink your thumb right into it. This stuff's bomber. And so that's the inside of what your board looks like, and that's why things are a little pricier than a surfboard. Is it gets vacuum bagged several different times, and hardware and carbon. From that stage, here's one. It's been a little bit farther along than that one. And it shows it's got a carbon wrap around the bottom. Goes around to the deck line right here. And then we're gonna grind that down, and we're gonna glass carbon around to the bottom edge again. So there's actually 2 full layers of carbon around the rails of these things. We got a handle in the bottom that sits when your foil and mast is in there. You grab your board by the handle, and now it's super balanced and easy to get in and out of the water, because these things are pretty wide. With a foil on there and a wing in your hand, you got your hands full on the beach. So on the bottom, it's going to go just like 4 inches in front of your mast, which your mast and your foil, they almost weigh as much as the board. So it moves the balance point of your board way back to have this mast and foil hanging off the back. So we've found that when you have your board with a mast on it, you put your handle 3 to 4 inches in front of there, and now it's really balanced for carrying it on the beach with one hand. But on the deck, on the other hand, a lot of times people are taking their foil off of their board for transport, because if you got a 3-foot mast, got a foil sticking up, not everyone's car can take this thing in one piece. So half the people are taking their mast off their board every day. You get tumbled in the shore break or something, you got to get out of trouble. It gives you another thing you can hang on to get out of the way. It's 3 inches behind center, but it's much forward of where it'll be on the bottom. Here's another little thing that we do to the inside of the board. This is 2.5 pound per cubic foot styrofoam. Your board is 1 pound styrofoam, so this is 2.5 times heavier. Here's a block that's going to support your fin boxes where your foil's going to hook into the board. So the next thing I'm doing to this blank is I'm going to cut a hole all the way through it and mount this piece of foam inside the middle of this blank and shave it back down to shape. And that's so that these fin boxes are sitting in something much more solid. And so once that's level with the bottom where the fin boxes are going, they're getting sunken into high density foam with some carbon around them, carbon glassed over them as well, because there's a lot of pressure right here. Think about it. I'm 200 pounds. I'm standing up 3 feet off the water on a skinny carbon mast with a big ass foil. There's a lot of lift and a lot of pressure on this point, and you don't want this thing to collapse and rip out of the board or something. So this is kind of key reinforcement, as well as some further reinforcing around these. Certainly the most strenuous part of these boards is right here where your foil connects.